Hi, it's Jeff Mays. This week I was reading an interesting article. The article was about the fact that maybe corporations or companies have a personality. The author was bringing out some good ideas that the personality of a corporation can be just like the personality of a person, that you can change it over time and then it can be different and that it takes on almost a life of its own. Now, just my basic thought was there's an issue here. Can an entity like a corporation be a person to have a personality? I'm not sure that can really happen, but I know that a corporation or a company can certainly take on a culture that reflects outside and is their image to the people who do business with them and the community. It happens, it changes over time. When companies go through mergers and changes or acquisitions, lots of times that changes dramatically. It reminds me of the time when I was doing business with a small local bank. The bank was based in a building just up the street from my office. They took up a good-sized corner of a large building. It was a very normal-looking bank, had walls, had a couple windows up front. Then you walked in and they had a big, long counter with tellers behind it. And then over in the corner there were 4 or 5 offices. On the other side there was a big conference room, all with walls. And it was very normal, I would say. The large national bank that came in and bought them had a different image. First thing, of course, they did was go out and change the sign. These large companies, when they come in, they put a plastic or some sort of a cover over the sign with their new logo so that you know that they've changed. Pretty good image for those of us that do business with the bank that there's a change coming, that it's happened. Well, they shut down the bank for about a week, maybe 10 days, and they started to do some work. And I noticed, because I drive by it every day, there was a lot of changes happening to the building. They cut areas out and they put windows in. It was very light. It was very bright. The first day when it opened, I walked in and I wanted to check it out. I had a deposit to make, so I went over and I was looking for the counter, and there was no counter. I noticed the whole inside of the building was just one big open space with various things around the building. It looked kind of cool. It was very bright. It was very light. There were pop-up desks where the tellers were standing, and they were spaced apart so that if you were talking to a teller, there was some implied privacy in that. And I looked over in the corner, and the manager was sitting in a bright area next to the window with all the lights. You could see the whole place at any given time. And when I walked over and made my deposit, the teller was super friendly, like she'd always been. I finished my transaction. She said, well, it looks like the manager's busy on the phone. Why don't you go over, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and maybe look at the TV. We've got the business channel on this one. We've got the news channel over on this one. So whichever side you want to sit on, just relax. We'll be with you in a few minutes. I was like, wow, that's really friendly. So I went over and I was watching the business channel, having my cup of coffee, and pretty soon the manager approached me and she said, come over to my desk, let's talk. And I sat down and I said, wow, what a great place. You've made some really neat changes. All of you have your brand new shirts on, nice logos. You're all bright and smiling just like you always have been. I'm so glad to be able to come back in here and see you. Well, she wasn't so happy. And I said, well, what's wrong? And she said, well, I've just got to be honest with you. It's really tough. We're having an issue here. And I said, well, tell me, what's going on? She said, well, this nice big open space that you like, we've had some changes. I said, yeah, I noticed that. And she said, well, one of those changes is we took out our community room. Now, the community room to me was a place whenever I had a civic group or a nonprofit organization that I wanted to meet with, it's a place I would go because my office didn't have a conference room. And I'd call her up and I'd say, could I use the community room for a few minutes or an hour for a meeting, whatever. And she'd always say, yes, what time? Okay, let's schedule it in there. And we'd go down, we'd meet at the bank, we'd have our meetings. Everything would be great. Great public service, great civil service for those of us that lived in the community that were clients. So when we remodeled, she said they took out the community room. You might notice there's only one wall and one door in the building, and it goes back to the drive-in teller area because we have to have that secure. Oh, okay. Well, we can do without that. I appreciate you've given us that space all these years to use. I really appreciate that you've done that. Thank you so much. She said, well, I'm a little bit upset because I won't be able to go to the meetings anymore like I always did. And I won't be able to keep a feel on all the stuff going on in town because I won't be able to go because I can't leave the building during the day. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry that happened. Anyway, so we talked a little bit more, and I said, so that's not bad. I mean, that's just one little thing. You'll work through that. She said, well, there's a bigger issue. She said, when our tellers want to take a break or they want to eat their lunch, there's no place else for them to sit in private and do that. They have to go over to one of these 2 or 3 desks over here and sit down at the desk, and they're out in public. And if somebody walks in and everything's busy, people walk over and bother them while they're on their lunch. And it's kind of an interruption, and they can't, maybe make a phone call to talk about something private or, whatever might be happening in their life. It's different. So now they really have 2 choices. They can go out to their car or they can go someplace else to eat their lunch to get some privacy. Wow, it's a big change. So what the new bank had thought was a great, open, beautiful place, what my original thought was a great, big, open, beautiful place, wasn't that good for the employees. Lots of times when we merge companies or we acquire companies, we don't think about what's happening locally. We look at the broad overview. And when that happens, the broad overview sometimes doesn't match well in a community or in a location. So it's important to remember that. But more important is to get the employees on board before that change happens. It's changing the culture, changing the personality, changing the whole paradigm that your employees have so that when the customer walks in the first day, they're not upset and depressed. Well, that's something I can help with. That's something I do with thinking in the results is help corporations, help businesses move to a new culture or combine 2 cultures so that they can come together and be cohesive and positive and really grow out of a transition. So anyway, going back to the bank, what really happened was over the next few weeks, I noticed a number of the tellers quit. I noticed they had to hire new people. I noticed a lot of changes happened. It was really uncomfortable for those tellers. It was really uncomfortable for the manager because she was having to work long, hard hours training new people in their systems she really didn't know. So lots of change happened there. Does that happen in your business? It might. Does it happen in other businesses? Have you ever been through that before? I know I had a few times. So what I really want you to get out of this is that when corporate change happens, their culture or their personality changes too. And those changes need to be thought about. Not just whether we should make a change, but also how does it affect the employee? Any business, their biggest asset truly is their employees. Because without the employees, there's no personality. Think about it. If you want to sit down and talk some more about how to change your corporate personality or your corporate culture, I'd be happy to talk to you. My name's Jeff Mays. Success for Life is my company, and I want to help you grow your business in a good way that has long-term profitability and sustainability. Thanks for listening.